Right, absolutely. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to call 1-347-857-4296. I know I'm enjoying the show thus far. How about you, YJ? Are you learning quite a bit?
Of course, yes, I am.
YJ, you're the quietest co-host I've ever listened to.
Well, I was taught a long time ago, if you don't know what's going on, sit back and observe and listen and soak it all in. Then the next time you can have something to talk about.
That's a wise philosophy.
Thank you, YJ. We appreciate you being here and taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. The positive and negative, does it seem that we're holding more of one than the other? Is that why we're experiencing so many situations today? Is it because we're either too much positive or too much negative?
Well, we have too much of the masculine energy, and so we have even used the term negative to mean bad.
Right.
That's the feminine. And the feminine in the garden, she was the one who she didn't stick that food or that fruit down that man's neck and tie him up and make him eat it, but that was her fault. And ever since that story came out, negative has meant bad.
Right.
But scientifically, it is not. When you have negative ions, you're talking about the energy that's in your forest, that's coming from the trees. You're talking about the energy, the healing energy that comes from the waterfalls in nature. And when you have positive ions, those are ions made by pollution in the environment. So what's good and what's bad?
Right.
Go ahead.
And you're absolutely right, because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about all the things that that are created and that some of the inventions. When you think about it, there's always a positive and a negative. I mean, the cell phones we're on, they're all run by batteries. The cars we're driving, motorcycles, whatever, all those things have batteries, and they both have positive and negative. And and by that, you see everything run smooth when you have the positive and the negative that are equalizing each other.
Right.
And we fail to realize that for us, we have to have the same thing. And like you say, they look at the negative as something bad, when in reality, it's really something. It's really a good thing that we really need to have that negative in there to go along with the positive, because it causes that balance that we need. So, yeah, we're really, really good. I'm enjoying it.
Well, it's scientific. Universal principles are applied to everything in creation, and those laws are immutable. You can't change the truth. The truth is what it is. But when you see something and it's not quite right, if it's not happening in nature, now we've even perverted nature by these genetically modified foods that we're eating and that we're feeding, and we don't even insist that the food is labeled anymore. We just take whatever's there. I was in the market the other day, and it had a very, very, very low vibration. And I had been in that market a couple of years ago, and because I am an advocate for healthy and nutritious diet, because I'm a wholeness practitioner. That means that we have to pay attention to our whole self, our spirit, our mind, and our body. And if our bodies are off, our spirits can be off as well, and usually are. So in order to get balance, we have to have good, healthy, organic, or natural foods. And so in this market, we went in. My daughter said, well, we're just going to run in. And I couldn't hardly stand to be in there because the food was at such a low vibration, I could actually feel it. And when I talked to the manager in there, he told me how he had tried to bring certain foods in with a higher vibration and how the people just let it rot. They didn't know how to eat it. They didn't know how to prepare it. And they were not, I then began to try to start workshops at the center in the neighborhood to try to teach people. I do food as medicine workshops. They didn't come and they didn't bring their children. So, you can't force this information on anyone. People have to be yearning for it. And so everybody's not going to make it. And that's why in Zechariah, I think it's 13, it says 2/3 of God's people are going to perish. That means rot. But there are 2/3 who are going to ascend into spirit and not experience death as well. So this is why we're talking about a world without limits. A world without limits. Because we have often thought, the scripture said the last enemy to be defeated is death. And the death that we're experiencing, we're bringing upon ourselves. There's no outside devil bringing the stuff to us. We're creating it from within.
Right. True. Great.
Is that YJ? Are you?
Yeah, I am just agreeing with her because what I am confused about, or not really confused, but you go to your local grocery store, the food that are healthy are more expensive than the food that will kill you. That just really puzzles me.
That's because there's what we call in our circles the reptilian energy that wants you dead. If you have a people who don't love their own bodies and all they care about is money, it's just like Pepsi, for instance. That's the worst poison that you can put in your system. It's worse than crack. Worse, do you hear me? Worse than crack. I said it, and I mean that, and I can prove it.
Well,
Diet Pepsi especially. So why do people go buy that by the case? They pay for it. It's not that they're giving it away, and it's cheap. But when you find people, what is happening with the farmers and the organic farmers, the government's working against them. We have these big industries like Monsanto who are working against them, taking them to court because their seed is flying over into the farmer's seed, which the organic farmer does not want their seed. But as soon as one of their plants pops up on an organic farmer's land, they're suing that farmer to run him out of business. That's why it's high. So we just have to either grow our own food or manifest the funds to buy the best, because your body is the only body you got, and you're worth it. That's how I feel about it. It's cheap because they're trying to kill you. Look at prescription drugs. That's the third highest cause of death in America, and it used to be expensive until people couldn't afford it anymore, so now they got that cheap. But they're still getting money from the government to subsidize it. And so what we're dying of is that cheap food.
I thought that was kind of backwards when I, would go into the grocery store and see the most healthiest foods costing the most money, and the food is not good for you. It's so inexpensive. I always thought it was kind of crazy, but
right. Well, the powers that be have all the money, so they can sell the poison to you cheaply. And when you talk about white bread, white sugar, and all these animals that they put on sale for little or nothing, they have chickens that don't even have feet or beaks, that they're just growing the bodies. That's what's on sale. But when you have farmers who are letting their chickens roam around free, they're gathering their eggs a certain way, they're not spraying the eggs with pesticides in order to get all the bacteria off of them that these chickens that lay in mass. If you knew some of the things I knew, you probably wouldn't eat anything. Some of the things that you see that they're doing in order to make this food cheap. And just like so many of the advocates, when I was in Fresno and I would talk to the woman who was the manager of the health department, and they would talk about these wonderful food programs we're giving to the children. And when I go to the schools and I smell the food, it almost makes me want to throw up because you can smell the food, and it's not a healthy smell. If you're used to eating good food, you can't even stand the smell of that food. And I told her, I said, but that food is junk. It's no good for them. She said, well, at least they're not hungry.
They're just dying, but they're not hungry.
They're full.
Yes.
And then they accumulate a taste for that food, They don't want good food after a while because they're used to that other stuff.
Yeah, speaking of food, my grandchildren, they are McDonald's fanatic. I mean, we last weekend I took them out to a company picnic, and they got had hamburger, hot dog, of course, which I know is not healthy, but when we left, my granddaughter saying, "Papa, can we stop by McDonald's?" So and I blame that on my daughter, because if she don't have time to cook, she'll go by McDonald's. I mean, my grandson was eating chicken McNuggets from Wendy's for so long, So the parents, and I guess because due to the hectic lifestyle that we have, everything is hectic, everything is go go go, and but you must take time to sit down and prepare your family a nutritious meal with, if you don't have that training, I guess, it's just about wasting your breath, I guess.
Well, what McDonald's is all right every now and then especially when you teach your children to bless the food.
Mm-hmm.
Because the scriptures say even if we eat poison, it won't kill us, but we can't eat it every day, all day. We have to have moderation.
Right.
And so I don't worry so much about my children. Matter of fact, my daughter and her husband were trying to make their children strictly vegetarian, which I am not strictly a vegetarian. I do moderation, and when I do eat other things, I make sure it's the best. And that when it's slaughtered like halal or kosher, as they call it, that it was raised for a certain reason, it was slaughtered with a certain way, and that the animal is not traumatized and has not lived a traumatized life, that the cattle that it grazed and ate real grass and not been injected with a whole bunch of hormones and stuff. And so if you have McDonald's and that's the kind of meat they have, then what are your children eating? They're eating hormones. They're eating all these things that are going to it's going to distort their figure. That's why you see all these children walking around with these big shoulders and they're completely round. They don't have any definition to their bodies because that's the kind of food they're eating. So we have to pay attention and prayerfully feed our children. And once we learn that everything needed has been provided, we'll stop buying things that are not good for us and hold out for that which is ideal. And then we'll find that these diseases that weren't known years ago will start to disappear.
Dr. Sheryn, we have a caller. Let's see if this is a question for you.
All right.
Thank you, caller 864. You have a question. Thank you, and welcome to Let's Talk.
How are you doing? Actually, I was just chiming into the show, and I was listening and really enjoying the dialogue, and I decided to call in when I heard the host speak about sugar being like the crack cocaine of the diet, and that is absolutely right, on the money. I mean, because once it is ingested, it causes an insulin spike to shoot up sky high, and one that lasts over a period of hours. And even when the body's energetic needs have been met, a person will be deceived into thinking, while the insulin is still being pumped out of the pancreas, that, hey, I'm hungry.